This man was an honest thief. Yes, a thief, you heard that right. How can I call a thief honest? Go on, listen to this. For 16 brutal years, the case stalled. 13 batches of CBI officers came and went, submitting inconclusive reports designed to let the powerful off the hook. Sister Abhaya had stumbled upon an illicit sexual liaison involving the priest and a nun. The first officer from the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, Deputy Superintendent Verghese P. Thomas, was eventually forced to resign in protest, publicly stating he was put under immense pressure to close the case. The police arrested Raju, tortured him for 60 days, and then tried to bribe him with a house and money to take the blame for the Imagine a silence, a 28 years long silence. A truth so terrifying that it was drowned, literally and figuratively. Today's story is just about that. Welcome to Welted Marigold, where we share dark and mysterious stories from South Asia and beyond. I'm your storyteller Adaka, and this is the story of Sister Abhaya. Her name was Beena Thomas, a young woman known in her religious life as Sister Abhaya. At just 21 years old, she was a bright, dedicated, a nun in training at the St. Pius X convent in Kottayam, Kerala. She was studying hard, preparing for her final exams, and her routine was ironclad. Wake up at 4 a.m. every single day to study in the quiet of the pre-dawn hours. 27th March 1992. She followed the ironclad routine that she had. The convent was still dark when she slipped out of her room, pulling her white veil close and walked down the silent corridor toward the hostel kitchen. She wasn't going to study yet. She was going to get a glass of water. But what Sister Abhaya saw when she entered that dimly lit kitchen room changed everything. When the other nuns finally woke, they didn't find Abhaya at her prayers or her studies. They found a violent, hastily manufactured scene of panic. The refrigerator door was wide open, and a bottle of water lay on its side, its contents spilled across the floor. A single slipper was jammed underneath the fridge, suggesting a desperate sudden scuffle or a fall. A white veil was tragically caught under the kitchen door, which was mysteriously locked from the outside. And most chillingly, on the floor of the convent kitchen, the police later found a weapon, a small hand axe. Her second slipper was later discovered hundreds of feet away, near the compound's deep, murky well. And when the local police looked down into the dark water of the well, they saw the unthinkable. Sister Abhaya's body floating in cold silence. The local police, with unbelievable speed, jumped into action, not to investigate, but to obstruct. Within hours, they declared a definitive cause of death: suicide by drowning. A cheerful, studious 21-year-old preparing for her life's calling had supposedly just decided to give up. But this lie was paper thin and flimsy, and began to tear immediately under scrutiny. The postmortem report was a direct, horrifying contradiction to the suicide narrative. It noted lacerations and contusions to her shoulders, hips, and 2 significant bone-deep wounds above her head. These were injuries terrifyingly consistent with a savage blow from perhaps that hand axe, the weapon that we had mentioned earlier. not a fall into a well. The girl had been incapacitated before she ever hit the water. So how could it be a drowning? Yet the official cause of death remained baffling: drowning. The cover-up that followed was not merely an act of incompetence. It was a devastating campaign of systemic corruption, a calculated dismantling of justice by powerful hands. First, the police burned Abhaya's blood-soaked clothes, instantly destroying any vital forensic evidence. Second, postmortem photographs vanished and crucial medical reports later surfaced with forged signatures. Third, in the most cynical act of institutional destruction, the convent rapidly remodeled the entire kitchen, eliminating the crime scene as though scrubbing away a stain. The conspiracy was so powerful, it even broke the resolve of an honest investigator. The first officer from the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, Deputy Superintendent Verghese P. Thomas, was eventually forced to resign in protest, publicly stating he was put under immense pressure to close the case as a suicide. But before we go any further with the story, this story is designed to be shared. If you like the stories we bring you each week, please take a moment, only takes a moment, to like this video or share this episode. If you are listening on a podcast platform, hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Our team is a very small and mighty team, and our growth is fueled entirely by your support. Now let's get on back to the one man who couldn't be silenced. So who is this man in this case who couldn't be silenced? This man was an honest thief. Yes, a thief, you heard that right. How can I call a thief honest? Go on, listen to this. For 16 brutal years, the case stalled. 13 batches of CBI officers came and went, submitting inconclusive reports designed to let the powerful off the hook. But the truth could no longer be buried forever. Tireless local activists and the brave Abhaya Action Council relentlessly agitated, finally pushing the courts to demand a genuine investigation. And the breakthrough, when it finally arrived, was an act of profound irony. The key to cracking the entire conspiracy was a local petty thief named Adaka Raju. Raju had been on the convent roof that very night, attempting to steal copper rods. He witnessed what he wasn't supposed to. Two men, two priests, Father Thomas Kottoor and Father Joe's Putri Kyle, scaling the convent wall and slipping inside. In an almost unbelievable moment of moral clarity, he went to the police and confessed to his small crime just to tell them what he had seen. The response was swift and brutal. The police arrested Raju, tortured him for 60 days, and then tried to bribe him with a house and money to take the blame for the. What did Raju do? Refused. Raju refused. The honest thief stood firm, telling the court with simple, powerful dignity, "I want justice. I want justice for my sister." Raju's testimony broke the case wide open. The renewed CBI investigation finally confirmed the long-rumored motive. Sister Abhaya had stumbled upon an illicit sexual liaison involving the priest and a nun, later identified as Sister Sephy. Her discovery signed her death warrant. They had attacked her to ensure her permanent silence and then staged the scene. The evidence of the ensuing cover-up was equally damning. The convent's usually vicious, loud guard dogs were silent that night, proving the killers were known, trusted visitors. Why else would they be quiet? Most scandalously, Sister Sephy had undergone a highly secretive hymenoplasty, a surgical reconstruction of the hymen. Why would she need to do that? at a church hospital the day after a desperate attempt to destroy the physical evidence of her relationships and complicity. When her virginity test results were later scrutinized, investigators discovered they had been tampered with using correction fluid, an attempt to cover up the surgery and preserve her manufactured purity on paper. The sequence was clear. Abhaya was struck with the axe to incapacitate her and then thrown into the well while still alive to stage the suicide. After 28 years of relentless resistance from some of the most powerful institutions in the country, the truth could no longer be contained. In December 2020, the verdict finally arrived in a court of law. Father Thomas Kottoor and Sister Sephy were found guilty of and destruction of evidence and sentenced to life imprisonment. Father Joe's Putrikail was acquitted due to a lack of sufficient evidence. The story's final echo came in 2023 when the Supreme Court of India, influenced by the issues revealed in this very trial, declared all forms of virginity tests unconstitutional, calling them a violation of a woman's fundamental rights. If you are interested in reading more about the specifics of this legal marathon, you can look up books related to the case, such as the Knanaya People, Sister Abhaya case, a non-fiction title summarizing the events and investigation. This marks the end of this week's episode. Until the next week, stay kind, stay safe.